Thinking about buying your first home? Maybe you're browsing cozy houses in your neighborhood, imagining your future there. That's the traditional path. But what if your first property wasn't just a home? What if it was an investment? One that works for you, brings in passive income, and opens new financial doors. Today, I'll share 5 essential tips for first-time buyers who want to make a smart move, not just a sentimental one. However, you're not a buyer anymore, you are an investor in real estate. Don't buy with emotions, buy with a strategy. I remember the first time I started looking at properties. I was saving up, doing research, and then I saw this one apartment. It had huge windows, ocean view, a modern kitchen. I caught myself imagining what it would be like to live there. But then I paused. Was that really the goal? I ran the numbers out of curiosity and quickly realized it didn't make much sense financially. Even if I rent it out later, the income wouldn't come close to covering the costs. That's when I realized it's really easy to fall in love with a place, but if you are buying as an investment, emotions can trip you up. Instead of asking, do I like it? Now I ask, what's the return on investment? Is there real demand in this area? Will this be easy to rent or resell? Buying property is not like buying shoes. You are not just wearing it, you are putting serious money into it. So before anything else, I define the strategy. Is this for passive income? For flipping later? A mix of both. Once that's clear, the rest becomes easier. Trust me, you'll thank yourself later for thinking long-term instead of falling for the view. Here's a simple example. Let's say there is a sea view apartment you love, costs $300,000. But just a few streets back, there is a compact unit in high demand for $150,000. You could buy that second one, rent it out steadily, and use part of the income to rent a sea view place for holidays. Same view when you want it, but with half the investment and far better profit numbers. Sometimes, smart investing means separating what you want to own from what you just want to enjoy. You'll thank yourself later for thinking long-term instead of falling for the view. Guys, if this is helpful so far, hit the like button or subscribe for more real estate tips like this. It really helps the channel and I truly appreciate this. Thank you. Back to the video. Understand the rules before you pay. When I first started exploring property markets abroad, Thailand caught my attention. And as I looked into options in tropical paradise island of Phuket, I came across 2 words I'd never really thought about before: freehold and leasehold. Of course, my first instinct was, I want freehold. I want this to be mine, not some long-term rental. I mean, leasehold just sounds like a compromise, right? But then I started digging into the numbers, and here is what surprised me. Freehold units often come with higher taxes, extra fees, and a markup in price. Sometimes that premium eats into your future rental income or resale profit. In a few cases, I realized that leasehold actually gave me better returns as long as the legal structure was sound and I had a strong contract. The point is, every country has its own rules. In Thailand, you can own condos freehold, but not the land. In other places, you might need a local partner, or deal with visa restrictions, or face extra taxes as a foreigner. It may seem overwhelming at first, but once you understand how the system works, it becomes part of your strategy, not a barrier. And you don't have to figure it out alone. I see this all the time. Investors come in with the same concerns. Is this even legal? What are the risks? Can I actually own this? And that's where local expertise really helps. We walk people through the process, explain what matters, and help them make clear, informed decisions. This kind of support makes a big difference, just having someone explain what actually matters and what doesn't. So before you fall in love with a listing or send any money, take a moment to understand the legal landscape. Who actually owns what? What are your rights, your risks, your real costs? Freehold has its upsides, so does leasehold, and you need to understand that beforehand. Because once you sign, you are not just buying a property. You are stepping into a legal system that may work very, very differently from your own. And trust me, knowing the rules upfront is a lot cheaper than learning them too late. Choose a location with real demand. I used to think location was the easy part. You just find a nice area, close to the beach, with good restaurants, And done, right? But as I looked deeper, I started noticing something. Some beachfront areas felt a bit isolated. Great views? Sure, but not much else around. No schools, no real community, a long drive from the airport, and that made demand less consistent, especially outside peak season. Then I discovered areas like Layan, Surin, and Bangtao, right on the beach, but with everything else nearby too. International schools, restaurants, fitness studios, even the airport's not that far. That mix created a steady flow of both tourists and long-term tenants, and that's what made the numbers work. So now, when I looked at location, I don't just ask, is it by the sea? I ask what else is around and will people want to stay here often, not just once. The same logic applies anywhere in the world. Is there year-round demand? Is the area supported by infrastructure, transport, shops, schools, offices? Are there clear restrictions on new development that limit future supply? It's not about finding the most luxurious neighborhood. It's about finding the one that people actually want to stay in, rent from, or buy into. So now, before I even look at the property, I ask, would I want to be here if I didn't own it? And more importantly, would other people? It sounds obvious, but it's a question that's changed the way I invest. Plan your exit before you enter. When I bought my first property, I didn't think much about selling it. I was focused on the purchase, the location, the price, the rental income, resale. That felt like a future Artem problem. But a couple of years later, things changed. I wanted to reinvest in a new project, and I thought, no big deal, I'll just sell this one. Turns out, it wasn't that simple. There wasn't much demand in that area anymore. The developer wasn't well known. The resale process dragged on, and I ended up lowering the price just to get it off my hands. Honestly, I wish someone told me this sooner. You have to think about your exit strategy from day one, and even better, from day zero. Now, before I buy anything, I ask myself, is there a second-hand market for this type of property? Is the location likely to grow in value, or is it already saturated? Will international buyers be interested if I want to sell later? Does the project have brand value or managed services that make resale easier? In some cases, early-stage properties in high-demand zones offer better resale upside than completed units, but only if the fundamentals are solid: demand, infrastructure, and legal clarity. Buying is easy. Selling, that's where you see whether the property really holds its value. So now, before I commit, I picture myself in 3 years, ready to move on, and I ask, will this be easy to exit or will I be stuck? If the answer feels risky, I pass. Focus on numbers, not just photos. We've all done it. Scroll through listings and stop at the one with the infinity pool and sunset view. I've been there too. You see the photos and think, wow, this place is amazing. I'd live here. But then I look closer. The maintenance fees were high, the rental demand was seasonal, and the price per square meter way above average for the area. For my US friends, square meter is kind of an analogy for a square feet. That was a turning point for me, when I realized that real estate is full of optical illusions. A beautiful apartment doesn't automatically mean a smart investment. Now, whenever I look at a property, I go straight to the numbers. What's the expected rental yield? How often is it usually booked? What are the hidden costs like service fees, taxes, or renovation needs? How does it compare to similar units in the same area? I still care about the photos, but they are the last thing I check, not the first one. One thing I've learned, if you want a property that works for you, it has to perform on paper first. The aesthetics, they're just a bonus. Conclusion. These 5 tips aren't just theory. They come from real lessons I've learned along the way. Some of them the hard way, unfortunately. And if you want me to share more about my own experience, what worked, what didn't, how I chose my first property, just drop a comment. I'd be happy to dive deeper and talk more openly about it. Thanks for watching and good luck with your first step into real estate investing. You've got this.